The time to end the nightmare had come. Standing up with my weapon in hand, I kept my eyes locked on the objective. Of all the strange things in that place, the amalgam of viscous and bloody plant roots had to be the last altar to take down. It had been going on for too long, I thought, then dashed towards the root altar, ready to pour all my anger and frustration on the evil living structure. "Manners, Outlander," I heard Redeye growl before he yanked me back with his powers, making me fly across the room and land far away from the altar and next to a wall. "I'm not the Outlander," I said on the floor, writhing in pain. Redeye levitated from his throne and floated in my direction while the expression of anger on his mask slowly changed to that of surprise. I looked around me to find the stick, unable to spot it. Redeye set foot on the floor a few inches away from me as I stood up, fists closed and ready to fight. "I can see that you've met the being," Redeye spoke. "What being?" I asked quietly, not sure of what or who he was referring to at the time. "The one with many red eyes," he replied, before pointing at the stone statue behind him. At that moment, I remembered the strange entity I encountered earlier, and was almost thankful towards it for not allowing me to see its true form. Indeed, I did not possess the maturity to grasp who and what it was. However, I understood its instructions about taking the red eye and placing it back on the statue, but unfortunately for me, so did Redeye himself. "How low and cunning?" he asked. "For your help, I presume?" "You're here to take the Eye of Askhartes as well?" Redeye asked, making it shine brighter on its forehead. "Do you think you can?" he questioned, his mask bearing a smiling, malicious, and defying expression, but I was unable to answer. By pure hazard, I saw the weapon on the floor, a few meters behind Redeye. I tried to run past him, but he raised one hand and I froze, paralyzed by his tremendous power. Caught in a mix of despair and panic, I kept my eyes on the stick, filled with the will of just extending my arm towards it. Suddenly, the weapon moved and flew in my direction, only to be caught by Redeye with his other hand. "Blood resonance? That early?" "I have to admit, Terrence, you're one of the most gifted in our family," Redeye revealed. "In our family? What are you talking about?" "We've got nothing to do with," I tried to reply, interrupted by him just pointing at something behind me after releasing his paralyzing spell. "Do not let the rebels and the liars poison your mind," he spoke. I slowly turned around, my heart racing, until I set my eyes on something I would have never imagined. Among what I thought to be historical figures, I saw a colored painting of myself wearing a red ceremonial cloak with a symbol resembling the compass on the chest. Eyes widened in disbelief, I noticed that all the persons represented were people that I knew or that I had heard about. Just like the magma from a volcano, many memories gushed out of my subconscious as a lot of things started to apparently make sense. This might be what Edlin tried to tell me before she passed. This is certainly what Askhartes meant by "you smell just like him" when I encountered the being, and the so-called blood resonance seemed self-explanatory. "Look at it, Terrence, you all have always been part of it and will always be." Redeye spoke. "Everything began with those two meaningless peasants," he said, pointing at the painting of a couple dressed in black cloaks. I recognized his two decaying servants that were beating drums at the square, the same ones busy chanting incantations in front of the root altar. After giving birth to me in 1879, they could not see any value in my very being, always pressuring me for everything and comparing me to everyone, he revealed, with his mask displaying a sad expression. "Should I feel hateful? Should I feel grateful? I only know that thanks to their hatred, I have found my path and my true purpose," he said, pointing at another painting representing a woman with impressively long dark hair and dressed in a colorful cloak. "This is my Aunt Sylvestra, rejected by many just like myself. She helped me forge my path and identity in 1906. The one who taught me how the spiritual influences the natural. Unfortunately, her use of the craft revolved around things that did not align with my vision," Redeye said. "In 1927, after conquering many realms and spirits like Askhartes, I became the Great Redeye and led people to enlightenment and an oasis, free from another war," he added, showing a painting of himself, and I saw what his face looked like at that time. "For years later, the first harvest occurred," Redeye revealed, referring to the first blackout in 1931. "Harvest? Is this what you call it?" I quietly spoke, shaking in disbelief and nervousness. He ignored me, carried away in his revelations, tailored to highlight his grandeur, showing me several more ascendants until I saw a painting of my mother Penelope holding two babies. From what I saw and heard, I, Terrence, the Outlander, happened to be Redeye's great-great-grandson. In each generation, one member of the offspring was chosen to carry the burden of the cause. Your mother, Penelope, did it like no other, and she sacrificed a lot for the cult and the accomplishment of the vision. She fulfilled all assignments and tasks, succeeding where many before her failed, and she chose you to become the Outlander. The one whose blood can replace mine, he spoke. Replace your blood? I asked. After assimilating Askhartes, his evil nature literally dried me. Redeye revealed, showing me his forearm under his cloak. His skin looked like dry base rock, testifying of a humanity that had departed from him a long time ago. This is why you can sometimes channel my powers when you're in my presence, or in the presence of someone I have given powers to, through blood resonance. You are an extension of me. The scars of the past widened as I recalled all the harsh words and punishment from my mother, pressuring me to become what she wanted me to be, whereas my father fought to preserve me from her overwhelming and constant tyranny. Do you know how many people have passed, because of you? I questioned, almost whispering. Many already, and many more will, he answered. You see, in history, there have been great men, great leaders, considered heroes for what they have accomplished. Nobody remembers all the people under them that passed for their causes and objectives. This is what all those souls represent for me, including you, stepping stones for people like me burdened with greater purposes, Redeye said. You lied to all those people. They didn't follow you for that. And you lied to my mom. She's your great-granddaughter, I said on the verge of tears. Don't worry, little one. None of you will bear further pain. I will grant you the favor of an honorable demise as the Outlander. You and your family will be reunited in passing. I shall not take the risk to let any of you live and turn into a threat to my reign. The one in the Midway realm is already enough. Once the altar is ready, the transcendence ritual will be complete. All the souls harvested will be mine, including those of great men and women. All their knowledge and abilities will be mine, and I shall finally become the god that I was always meant to be, he spoke, levitating to further emphasize how great he saw himself. I shall finally be better than all those peasants. Long live Redeye, master of the craft, shepherd of souls. Long live Redeye, master of the craft, shepherd of souls, my family kept on repeating. Once again, I found myself hyperventilating, taking the direction of the altar in absolute denial of the situation. On my way, I picked up the stick on the floor, in case I had to defend myself against him or his decaying and enslaved parents. I refused to acknowledge that someone of over 100 years old with powers stood in my way to end the ordeal. Your fight is pointless. You've served your purpose, Outlander, all of you have, I heard him say behind me, but I ignored him. Then I suddenly heard a piercing scream of pain coming from one of my family members. I turned around to see the cage in which my father was held, engulfed in flames, powerless to what sounded to my ears like pleading screams. No. No, Dad, no, I shouted, running towards the floating cage and stood below, in tears until the screams stopped, just watching everything burn. Do not worry, son, for you are about to join him soon. All of you will be reunited tonight, never to be separated ever again, Redeye said. You're an executioner. I yelled before I started throwing random objects at him, literally anything I could lift, from cups to flower pots. This is my realm, Terrence. I'm diminished in the real world because of Askhartes' tricks, but here I'm already a god, he said, diverting everything that I threw at him. Your impudence will not save any of you. You're supposed to bow before me, he added, before setting my older sister Vivian's cage on fire with a simple hand gesture. My lips moved, but no sound came out. My legs trembled and I fell on my knees. My eyes riveted on the cage, I watched another person very close to me slowly turn to ashes, and to this day, I do not even remember hearing any scream. Maybe thinking that I just bowed before him, Redeye floated in front of me, his arms extended like somebody being showered with praises. The moment he landed in front of me, he was no longer out of reach and I charged towards him, screaming in rage like a rabid animal. An expression of anger appeared on his mask before he slapped me with the back of his hand. It hurt so bad that I remember thinking that I would never be able to eat or speak again. I fell on the floor and remained still with my eyes closed. How dare you stain my glove with blood? If you were not the Outlander, I would have crushed you like a pest, Redeye said. I heard him approach and felt his gaze upon me. I shall fulfill my promise to you and grant you the demise of kings, he added, before I felt my body being lifted in the air, then placed on his arms. Redeye sauntered in absolute confidence and triumph, taking me closer to my demise, while everything I could think about was the right moment. His arms were busy with the carrying and I could not dream of a better opportunity. I suddenly opened my eyes and with agility, I went for the one on his forehead, the red one. I plucked it so violently that I hurt a few of my fingers against his metallic mask and he immediately released me. The altar lost control as its roots started to move dangerously, knocking away Redeye's servants. Everything that was floating in the air came crashing down, and the oil lamps started several fires in the room after landing brutally on the floor. Outlander. Hurry, help us. That one wants to eliminate us all, I heard Razor shout from his cage. The souls were back to their senses with white shining eyes, while Redeye, for lack of an alternative name since he had lost it, was screaming in pain and trying to remove his mask. How dare you? How dare you insult a god, Redeye shouted after he removed his mask. Oh no, Razor said after taking a look at his master's face. When the wizard turned around to face me, I could see that nothing much was left of the human that was once my great-great-grandfather. His entire bald head resembled a dry base rock, with random human angry faces appearing at different parts of it. Their black eyes filled with hatred testified of the assailant thirst for blood. Tentacles started bursting out of his back as he ripped his cloak off, revealing a torso already covered with other and bigger angry-looking human faces. Nobody can stop me. You will not stop me. I am a god, Terrence, prepare to pass away, all the faces on Redeye's body spoke. How about you fight with someone of your size? I replied. Miserable fool, multiple voices said behind Redeye. He slowly turned to face Askhartes, looking down on him. The time he took to remove his mask had allowed me to give the red eye back to its owner. Just by presenting it to the statue, the eye floated up to the empty socket and all the other eyes regained their vivid red luminescence. This is not supposed to be. I'm about to fulfill my purpose, Redeye said, then began reciting incantation, trying to restrain the spiritual being. Fulfill your purpose? Askhartes asked, the stone-like texture of his skin reverting back to its original viscous and greenish color. Let me show you your destiny, the monster added. All his eyes shone with a bright red light, and Redeye started floating in the air. One by one, his limbs contorted, making crackling sounds amplified by his already dried body. I stood in amazement, witnessing Redeye himself experiencing the red demise, being broken into several parts, until Askhartes released him and his pieces fell on the floor. The monster then turned to the root altar and flew in its direction. I took the opposite route towards my mother and Carla, running through the flames, and reached my sister's cage first. Razor looked at me, just like the souls outside in the real world, counting on me for survival. I tried to find an opening to free her in vain, and panic was setting in as the fire spread, when a gloved hand from behind me landed on my shoulder. Stay back, he said when I looked at him. It was Flavio. The extra powers are gone, but we can still use strength, Razor suggested. Both Flavio and Razor joined forces to tear the solid cage open, to my complete bewilderment, before they helped and freed my mother in the same way. I then checked the time on the watch and saw that it was stuck on 10:09 p.m. They joined me as I looked at my last target, and we all witnessed Askhartes absorbing the large roots from the altar while several of his tentacles mercilessly crushed Redeye's servants. Terrence, I heard from Redeye's pieces on the floor. Terrence, he called, his voice heavily altered by his agony. I approached, and saw that his head was still alive. Won't you just go? I asked. You've committed a big mistake. The girl who escaped was the key. But now, you've freed him. What I tried to do was the best for you, but you're so young and short-sighted. There are too many things you don't know. He will unleash. His last words were interrupted on the spot by a massive tentacle crushing his head. Jumping backwards in fear, I bumped into Flavio and the others standing right behind me. We all looked at the massive being towering above us, its evil intentions aggressively intimidating each of us. I am confident when I say that such a monster full of hatred and evil could be invisible and still scare you by its mere presence, or even eliminate you with it and with ease. Askhartes let his eyes shine bright, almost blinding us, and spread his countless tentacles, ready to attack. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos like this one, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. And if you want to share your story in the next video, comment on this one and I'll make it happen.